It's been a few weeks and I have been working on completing all of the little tasks in my to-do list. Most of these are features that I didn't get to or have postponed many times, but I figured now was a good time to clean up the backlog before I go to tackle the final region of the game. To start, I redid the UI. It no longer uses instead of the old low quality paper UI, it now has a metallic border to better fit in with the rest of the game's aesthetics, and I redid the title card. On top of that, I also redid the tutorial to explain how to strafe and to be more accurate to the game in its current state. Next is the feature I worked the most on are the items. Items now have tooltips and descriptions that you can see by hovering over them in your inventory, as well as being displayed whenever you go to buy them. Items also have different probabilities of appearing based on region and can only be purchased up to a certain number of times based on how far in the game you have progressed. This will prevent you from camping in easier regions in order to obtain all the items. A couple of items, notably the auger, the booster, and the expanded sail, now have visible model changes whenever picked up. In the future, I want to also create models for the rifle and the armor, but that will come in a future update. Next up are the region transitions. Region transitions are now more pronounced. The sand properly changes color between regions and now also affects dust trails. On top of that, there is a new region title card that will appear when entering a new region. And the game now has an expanded soundtrack from multiple royalty-free artists to provide region-specific music that, if currently playing, will also transition when entering a new region. In addition to the royalty-free music, there is now also battle music that will automatically play when you get close to an enemy, or when an enemy gets close to you. The last new feature that I added was one I had on my backlog since before the Scorching Sands was added, and now I have finally gotten around to it. I have now added monuments, large pre-made structures that will occasionally spawn submerged in the sand. There is currently no gameplay benefit to exploring these structures, but they do help to fill the emptiness of the dunes. There can sometimes be miles upon miles of empty sands between boneyards or even rafts, and these monuments could be satisfying to explore. There are currently only 4 that are in the game at present, but in the future I will model and implement more of them to add more variety. I have also gotten around to fixing save games. Save files now record the position and data of various objects, such as rafts and even the striders. I have also fixed an old system in the world generation that was meant to prevent spawning enemies and loot crates twice. It was previously very unoptimized and did not account for whether or not the player defeated or picked up the loot crates it spawned. And speaking of optimization, the last thing I tackled was the unoptimized nature of the Badlands. Running Unity's built-in profiler showed me that Unity does not like making collision data for detailed meshes. So I went to work on trying to implement a greedy meshing algorithm for the canyon walls. The idea was to make a low-resolution mesh that is subdivided to give more detail in areas of the mesh that required it, such as steep slopes and sharp angles. This would greatly reduce the number of triangles without drastically impacting the quality of the model. After a week of work, I managed to implement such an algorithm with moderate success. The game runs faster, but still needs a lot of improvement to the algorithm that I implemented. However, thanks to my work on the greedy meshing algorithm, I have managed to make significant improvements to the Dune tessellator. The dunes now only tessellate on surfaces that have sharp angles, such as the side of dunes. This greatly improved performance, as it was no longer unnecessarily subdividing the terrain. With all of that done, now let's get on to the final region of the game. My plan for the next devlog is to implement the final region of every playthrough, where you will find the final boss of the game. In this region, there will be no merchants, and it will be packed with bandit camps, and of course, bandits. And to win the game, you will have to destroy the Bandit Lord's battleship, which I want to be a multi-phase boss. I have yet to figure out the exact specifics of how the battle will play out, but I have a rough idea, and I want the final boss to use all of the abilities that the player can pick up during the game. I will also be implementing game modes such as permadeath, and then at long last I want to release the game on Steam. This will not be the final update to the game, however, as there are still many regions and items that have been cut from the game throughout its development, and I will also be fixing bugs and making balance tweaks based on suggestions and feedback. But until then, you can feel free to join my Discord in the description for updates on features as I add them. And feel free to wishlist my game on Steam, also in the description. But that's all for this time. See y'all in the next one.